Hey guys, it's Tara time, and oh boy, do I have some juicy gossip for you guys. So I talked to a former staff member from Rec Room who wanted to remain anonymous, and they told me a bunch of stuff. The truth behind Rec Room's decisions over the years, and why the game has changed in the way that it has. We're gonna dive deep today. Today's video is sponsored by Jolly Match 3. It's an incredible game. I will tell you guys a little bit more about that later though, but for now, let's dive right in. So picture this. It's 2020, and there's a new device on the market called a Quest 2. But who's really gonna hear about it? Well, everyone actually, because it's COVID, and everyone's at home in quarantine wanting socialization. So Rec Room explodes in popularity because VR exploded. It's a free game that anyone can install and play as long as they have a VR headset. Rec Room quickly becomes one of the #1 social VR games in the space. There were some other social games and VR chat stuck around, but there were also a few fails. I don't remember the name of them, but I've tried a couple janky ones in my time, and they just didn't compare. So they reigned supreme. The VR community loved the Rec Room originals. Adults and teens alike enjoyed building maps, and it's not even about the notoriety, but the build contests, those didn't hurt. There's not a huge push for creators to monetize their maps at this point, so more people are building out of passion and just hoping to win the occasional build contest. RecNet has a top 100 creators list, there's weekly spotlights on creators, and the Rec Room YouTube channel is bustling. They post featured maps of the week, and Rec Room content creators are absolutely killing it numbers-wise. 2020 to 2022 Rec Room is incredibly promising for most players in VR. Rec Room isn't putting out Rec Room originals like they used to, the quests are feeling a bit stale, and the sentiment wasn't great over things like Rec Rally. But the community is still going strong, and there's no signs of doom at this point. It really still feels like a growing game with a ton of promise. Rec Room even managed to secure a major round of funding at the end of 2021, aiming to be like the Roblox of VR. They raised over $100 million from investors, and this is where the former staff member I talked to comes in and explains. Investors needed to see massive growth. VR just wasn't big enough. For Rec Room, it's like a double-edged sword taking this investment money. They want to grow, but now they feel compelled to answer these investors by trying to deliver on the promise of massive growth for their game. After all, they pitched it as becoming the Roblox of VR. However, COVID is now starting to wind down in 2022, and people are putting their VR headsets down and going back to work or school. So Rec Room launches on more platforms to try and chase these Roblox-sized numbers. But instead of building a mobile native version of Rec Room as an app, which would have taken a lot more time and effort, they squeezed this VR-first game onto phones. This former staff member told me that they felt like this was a poor decision, for reasons that even I have noticed and talked about in some of my videos. Core features just didn't translate to phones, so 3D charades, gestures, locomotion, building tools, social interactions, it was all lacking on mobile. And don't even get me started on the crash rates. In addition, the community age overall dropped dramatically as millions of mobile kids joined. OG Rec Room players remember when everyone in a lobby was actually in VR. So at this point, Rec Room realized that mobile didn't grow fast enough because it didn't monetize like Roblox, and they weren't actually keeping players long enough on mobile, because Rec Room on mobile sucks. And now they had annoyed pretty much the entire VR community by making the game lower quality, socially speaking, for the OG players. So Rec Room's Roblox but VR-enabled pitch just failed. According to the ex-staff member, employees, many of which were OG VR players, were upset at first to learn about the lean into making Rec Room mobile, but once they understood the financial reality of Rec Room, they understood. A VR-only Rec Room just couldn't survive the post-pandemic crash. So that brings us to 2023. A lot of builders noticed that Rec Room was starting to push hard for creators to monetize their maps. Room rewards changed to be more revenue-focused. The message was clear. You guys need to be building maps that players will spend tokens in, otherwise you're not winning any benefits from us. This pushed builders to feel a pressure, and it left them feeling like the passion for building was going away. Rooms 2.0 was launched at the end of that year and was lacking basic features that most builders were used to. Of course, Ready, Fire, Aim is Rec Room's motto. I can see their original intention. Let's put out this new feature, get the builders to actually build using Rooms 2, take their feedback and improve it. But this didn't happen. Builders tried it, they got frustrated, and they never wanted to give it a second chance, because let's be real, it wasn't what they're used to, but it also had a steep learning curve. So with more builders being pushed away and a strong lean into monetization, you the teenage builders who learn how to game the system. They would take Roblox thumbnails and slap them into Rec Room cash grab maps that were designed to entice 5-year-olds to click and play. It got to the point that Rec Room had to actually add to their creator code of conduct, stop ripping off thumbnails, and they started playing whack-a-mole with these cash grab creators, trying to stop them from using clickbait in their maps. In addition, once the strong push towards monetization happened, these creators were flooding the carousels with low-effort maps using inventions and costumes that you could pay tokens to wear, in otherwise boring maps like the park template. Rec Room was starting to pay a price for demanding that players monetize their maps, but failing to provide an incentive to do so. The new room reward system was convoluted and still seemed to reward old but popular maps like The Hood and Prison Life. And in the midst of all this Rooms 2 controversy comes a sad fact. Build contests took a very long hiatus, so pretty much anyone who loved to build quality maps in Rec Room now had no incentive to do so. The people making lazy cash grab maps would just push their quality maps off the carousels anyway. So, Q 2024 Rec Room. It's on mobile, it's on Xbox, it's not on PlayStation VR 2 because, oh no, they said that would be too expensive to port, and quality map creators have left in droves. Full-body avatars launch, and this infuriates the OG players even more. They cling onto their legacy bean avatars. But Rec Room insists on reworking this too for optimized game efficiency, and the Rec Room players remaining from the golden era feel like this is all too much. Before we get into more details about what the former staff member said, and the train wreck that has been Rec Room so far in 2025, I want to lighten the mood for a minute and tell you guys about Jolly Match 3. This is a mixed reality game for the MetaQuest. It's also super addicting. I haven't played many mixed reality games, so I was in awe that I could be playing this while supervising my emus outside at the same time. Jolly Match is a match 3 game like Candy Crush, but it is extra. You've got wild boosters, flashy power-ups, and super satisfying explosions of color when you hit a big match. The leveling system keeps you hooked too, because there's rewards, bonus levels, all the coins. There is so much to do in this game. One of my favorite things about Jolly Match is that between levels you get to rebuild these tiny islands inspired by real places like Paris and New York. You can zoom in, decorate them, and even hunt for hidden objects. And then there are the mascots, which are adorable. You unlock these little characters as you play, and each one has its own special ability that actually helps you in the game. It's weirdly relaxing, so rip my productivity, this game will suck me in. And the best part, besides the fact that it's free, it's mixed reality, so you can just play without zoning out from real life. I had a lot of fun playing with a friend in the same room. We were both on our quests, and yeah, it was just a chill time. Jolly Match 3 is available right now in the Meta Store, so install it today and make sure to join the Jolly Match Discord too. I'll put the link in the comments. Now, where were we? Ah yes, that's right, Rec Room and its trajectory of doom. So this former staff member did clarify something for me. I always think investors are calling the shots here, but investors didn't control Rec Room. They influenced the direction. Rec Room's board of directors consists of 2 of the owners, Nick and Cameron, aka Gribbly, and 2 investors. So Nick and Cam held enough power to block anything they didn't want to do. So contrary to what I thought, they weren't actually forced by investors, but naturally these board of directors conversations did shape the strategy for Rec Room's future. The ex-staff member explained that they weren't cash grabby in their decision making, but rather they were just trying to find ways to keep the company alive. So all this time we've been blaming investors for the bad decisions at Rec Room, but I guess we can stop doing that because the owners are literally equally to blame for everything that has happened here. And for me personally, I think part of the reason I feel like Rec Room has been on a path to, I don't want to say failure, but is that these people don't play the game. They're sitting in a boardroom, and that's a problem. I mean, if you tell me that Gribbly is out there on an alt grinding Rec Royale for hours a day, I guess I'll have to retract that statement. But I have a feeling that these people calling the shots don't spend the time that we do in the game. They probably get told that there's bugs and glitches and whatnot, but are they actually out there experiencing the hackers, the crashing, the load screens of death, the lobbies full of non-junior juniors? Do they realize how much has actually changed since 2020? I can't help but think they might be a little bit out of touch. And it's the same for myself. I'll be the first to admit that I was super confused when I hopped in Rec Room recently and my friend had like this zombie aura around him that moved with him when he walked. I was like, what sorcery is this? It's easy to get out of touch, so no shame or blame in that. But if Nick and Gribbly and the team were actually in Rec Room talking to the community, I think some of the decisions they made wouldn't have been made, or some of the things that we've been asking for years they would have implemented earlier. I think a lot of us that play the game all the time kind of saw this coming a mile away. So cue AI, because this story just keeps getting worse. AI was the hottest new thing, and investor hype around AI was massive. Rec Room launched Maker AI, and builders quickly panicked. Artists in Rec Room panicked. If you've ever walked the gallery rooms in RecCon and seen the incredible work that artists make by hand, one marker stroke at a time in the game, you'd understand why. Now they launched Maker AI, and you can just point your Maker pen at a blank canvas, and Coach will create something magical in seconds. As is the general sentiment from all I've said so far, you can imagine the remaining Rec Room community was outraged. Builders worried they would get replaced, artists' hard work now meant nothing. Fortunately, they discontinued Maker AI because it wasn't even functional, but then, Roomy. Rec Room introduced Roomy, which was an AI feature that actually landed. I can see why, too. Many people who play Rec Room, which is a social game, are actually terribly antisocial. To be able to have a robot AI friend who understands you, is never rude, has infinite patience, and is cute to boot, I mean, it makes sense. It also doesn't feel so much like AI, unlike the Maker Pen feature, which did. But unfortunately, Rec Room didn't stop there. They published DIY AI maps that ended up looking like slop, with an option to buy the AI slop creation for thousands of tokens to boot. It felt like a slap in the face seeing the maker of the Rec Room originals, Coach, having her name attached to this. With the game having laid off 30% of their staff and starting to be more open about their shortcomings, this led to a panic that Rec Room was priming their game by pushing AI as a last-ditch effort to either get more investment or sell off and wash their hands of this nightmare. And what about UGC clothing? Another recent thing Rec Room has implemented. The former staff member disagrees with me on this matter. I personally think when Rec Room had their own official storefronts, people actually bought more, there was like a sense of scarcity, but they believe UGC clothing was actually a good decision. They said Rec Room's audience became extremely diverse, way more than the dev team could design for. Allowing people to make their own clothing solved that. Rec Room gets less revenue per item, but the cost of hiring designers would have been far worse. So they said this decision had long-term sustainability in mind. I guess I can appreciate that. Did Rec Room bite off more than they could chew? Yes, but it's apparently not because they were reckless. They tried to be on every platform, compete with Roblox, maintain a huge staff, build new Rec Room originals every year, push UGC, push AI, grow mobile, keep VR players happy, stay profitable, all at once. And with VR slowing down during all of this, it wasn't possible. So my game crashed. Oh my gosh. I'm just gonna record this in the mirror, just looking like it's 2021 before I had a streamer cam because I only had a Quest 2. Rec Room said they fixed the streamer cam glitch where if you open your streamer cam near a mirror, it will like kind of just break your game. That wasn't even the issue like it was at first when I started recording today. I opened my streamer cam in the rec center and they said they fixed this, but it's clearly not fixed. And so I opened my streamer cam and the mirror in the rec center was there, so my rec center broke. Oh my god, I almost lagged out. Then I filmed for about 15 minutes with this talking video, and then I was just like, my game just crashed. But like not only did my game crash, like everything crashed. Like it was like Unity crashed or whatever. It just like it broke Steam. My computer didn't even want to restart. I had to like force restart my computer just to get back on, get everything open again, get my documents open, OBS to record, blah 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 blah, start my headset again, get back to my dorm. I say, you know what? I'm just gonna record the rest of this video just in my dorm. Take out my streamer cam, not facing the mirror. I just took out my streamer cam over there, and I just like, it shows me as crashing, but in my actual POV, it was just like 1 frame per second until like I waited like a minute, and then I was like, okay, this is just silly. Luckily, I didn't have to force restart my computer. I just restarted the game. But at this point, I just say, you know what? I'm gonna record in my mirror, and this is like kind of how the last couple times in Rec Room have gone for me when I try to record. Mainly, it's okay if I'm playing standalone on my Quest, but when I'm trying to record, it just, I don't know, the streamer cam has just been busted lately. And just the random crashes like on Steam. But anyways, according to this insider, Rec Room is moving back to its VR roots. There's gonna be fewer people, fewer giant bets, and more sustainability. So possibly like a new Rec Room original once in a while, but they're not gonna be doing what they did before. They're gonna focus on VR players again because that's who actually sticks around. So full circle moment, the future of Rec Room might look more like 2018 to 2020 rather than what we've been seeing lately. And this is actually funny that I was gonna mention this. The problem is that since they laid off 50% of the staff, there seems to be 50% more bugs and glitches in the game. I've noticed a duplication glitch of my avatar, my friends have witnessed paintball turning their screens one color, and apparently hackers are still rampant after there's fewer staff to handle that aspect of the game. And as I just ranted, my game keeps crashing, more so than I'm used to in Rec Room. So the future is very uncertain, and honestly for me, I have my own concerns. Rec Room content creators aren't making much content. If I search the top Rec Room videos on YouTube and filter by this week or this month and sort by view count, it's like tumbleweeds compared to back in the day. Back in the day, it would just be a sea of videos like Mavin VR, Slat, Harry Manlegs, Energetic Ruth, Tidal Wave, Righteous, Skull, Combeeve, BVR, and many, many other channels all making content left and right, from daily to weekly. And now, there's really nobody. And if there's nobody making content on Rec Room, more views for me, right? Well, no, that's not really how it works. It just means that without a BVR video, there's one less space in the sidebar or the end screen for YouTube to recommend my content. I feel like the ecosystem is just shutting down a little bit. Rec Room's main channel is crickets. My video partner program income is now less than when the program started. Take that into consideration. I've been making Rec Room content this entire time with a catalog of videos telling people to use my code, and I'm making less than when I had 8,000 subs on YouTube and they let me into the program in 2021. My ad revenue on this channel is actually also at an all-time low for me. Ever since I got monetized in 2021, I have never seen numbers this low. Staying with Rec Room as a content creator for me feels a lot like sinking with the Titanic, but I still have a hard time letting go. And I don't really have to let go. I do have a second channel, but what a shame to have a main channel of 100k plus subs and have it be mainly cricket. Slat always pulled in like, I don't know, at least 4 times the views that I did, at least. So to see him going through something similar and his numbers on YouTube just looking drastically lower, this tells me this isn't entirely just a skill issue on my end. There's just a lot less people interested in Rec Room content. I think Rec Room has a responsibility to re-engage the community, and I'm not sure if it can be done. It goes beyond replacing a first impression. Many players watched all of this unfold for years before calling it quits. Or some people stick around, but they're not happy. So where does Rec Room go from here? Let me know in the comments. And if you still play Rec Room, use code Tara. It would help me out, I don't know, a marginal amount these days. It clearly doesn't have the impact that it used to, but should just do it anyways. All right, let's see you guys in the next video. Oh my god, I just had like a glimpse of 2021 Tarapeutic, and I almost started crying.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel.
And I used to like bob my head way too much while I was filming, which I probably just did too, because I'm not used to filming like this. So if the last, quarter of this footage is just me doing that, whatever. It's a throwback. It's Throwback Thursday. All right, I'll see you guys. Tarapeutic out.